My husband cheated with my sister, so I started sleeping with his dad for revenge. Now I'm pregnant and the DNA test is tomorrow. Both families are gathering. My name is Amber and I'm 28 years old. Right now I'm sitting in my car outside a family restaurant, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles are white. Inside that building, everyone I know is waiting. My parents, his parents, my sister, my husband, and none of them know what's coming. But let me back up, because this mess started 6 months ago, and you need to understand how I got here. I thought I had the perfect marriage. Kyle and I had been together since college, married for 4 years. He was one of those guys everyone liked, charismatic, successful, the kind of husband who still brought me coffee in bed on Sundays. We lived in a nice townhouse in Connecticut, had good jobs, were trying for a baby. From the outside, we were golden. My sister Melissa is 2 years younger than me. Growing up, we were close. Not best friends close, but normal sister close. She was always the prettier one, the fun one. I was the responsible one, the one who got good grades and made sensible choices. She bounced from job to job, relationship to relationship. I never resented her for it. That was just Melissa. She'd been staying with us for 3 weeks last March. She'd just broken up with her boyfriend and needed a place to crash while she found a new apartment. Kyle and I had a guest room. It seemed like the obvious thing to do. I should have known better. It was a Tuesday night. I was supposed to be at a work conference in Boston, staying overnight, but the keynote speaker canceled, so they called the whole thing off. I drove home early, around 8 p.m., stopped and grabbed Thai food as a surprise for Kyle. When I walked in, the house was dark except for the upstairs lights. I called out, but nobody answered. I figured Kyle was in his office with headphones on. He did that sometimes when he was coding. I climbed the stairs with the takeout bag. Our bedroom door was closed, which was weird. I opened it. They didn't even stop when I walked in. That's the part that still makes me sick. My husband, my sister, in my bed, on my side of the bed. And they were so into it they didn't notice me standing there for a full 5 seconds. When Melissa finally saw me, she screamed. Kyle jumped up, scrambling for his boxers. The Thai food hit the floor. I just stood there, frozen, watching red curry sauce spread across the hardwood like blood. Amber, wait, Kyle started. I didn't wait. I turned around and walked out. Got in my car, drove to a hotel, turned off my phone, sat in the dark room and stared at the wall until sunrise. The next few days were a blur. Kyle called and texted hundreds of times. Melissa too. I ignored them both. I told my boss I had a family emergency and took a week off. I stayed in that hotel room and tried to figure out what to do. When I finally went home, Kyle was there alone. Melissa had moved out, he said, gone to stay with a friend. He cried, begged, said it was a mistake, that he loved me, that it only happened twice and he was planning to end it. Only twice. Like that made it better. He said Melissa had come on to him, that he was weak and stupid, but it meant nothing. He said he'd do anything to fix this. Therapy, couples counseling, whatever I wanted. And here's the thing that makes me hate myself. Part of me wanted to believe him. Part of me wanted to pretend it never happened and go back to our perfect life. Because divorce is hard. Starting over is hard. And I still loved him, even though I knew I shouldn't. So I stayed. We started counseling. He moved into the guest room while we worked on things. I called my sister and told her she was dead to me. She cried and apologized, but I hung up before she could finish. My parents didn't know what happened. Neither did his. We told everyone Melissa and I had a fight about something petty and we'd work it out eventually. Kyle's parents, Robert and Patricia, had us over for dinner every Sunday like always. We smiled and pretended everything was fine, but everything wasn't fine. I couldn't sleep in our bed anymore. Couldn't look at Kyle without seeing them together. The counselor said I needed time to heal, to rebuild trust. But how do you rebuild trust in two people who destroyed it together? 3 weeks into this new hell, Robert called me, Kyle's dad. He asked if I wanted to meet him for coffee that afternoon. Said he could tell something was wrong and wanted to check on me privately. Robert had always been kind to me. He was 54, still handsome in that salt and pepper way, distinguished. He'd been a corporate lawyer before retiring early. Patricia was fine but cold. Robert was warm, real. He'd told me once that I was the daughter he never had. We met at a coffee shop downtown. I ordered a latte I didn't drink. He got straight to the point. Kyle told me what happened. He said, about your sister. My stomach dropped. He told you? I pulled it out of him. I knew something was destroying you both. He finally admitted it. Robert leaned forward, his face serious. Amber, I'm so sorry. What he did was unforgivable. And with your own sister. I started crying right there in the coffee shop. This man, Kyle's father, was the first person who'd actually acknowledged how betrayed I felt. The counselor talked about healing and moving forward. My friend said marriage was hard and people make mistakes. But Robert looked at me and said it was unforgivable. I don't know what to do, I whispered. You don't have to decide today, he said. But I want you to know that whatever you choose, I support you. Even if you leave him. Even if that makes things complicated. You deserve better than what he gave you. We talked for 2 hours. He bought me lunch. Let me vent about everything. The betrayal, the humiliation, the fact that I couldn't even tell my parents the real reason Melissa and I weren't speaking because it would destroy them. When we hugged goodbye in the parking lot, something shifted. Maybe it was the kindness when I'd felt nothing but pain for weeks. Maybe it was feeling seen by someone. Maybe it was something darker that I don't want to examine too closely. Thank you, I said, for actually caring. Always, he said. I'm here whenever you need me. We started meeting once a week. Just coffee. Just talking. He became my confidant. The one person I could be honest with about how much I was drowning. Kyle thought I was meeting my friend Jessica. I told him the space was good for me, that I needed to process things with someone who wasn't him. Robert understood in a way no one else did. He'd been through his own marital issues, he told me. Patricia had had an affair years ago. They'd worked through it, but he knew the specific kind of pain I was feeling. The worst part, I told him one afternoon in his car after coffee, is that I still love Kyle, even after everything. How pathetic is that? It's not pathetic, Robert said. It's human. Love doesn't just turn off. I wish it did. We were parked overlooking a lake. It was May now. Nearly 2 months since I'd found them. 2 months of counseling and sleeping in separate rooms and pretending Sunday dinners were normal. Can I tell you something? Robert said, not looking at me. Something I shouldn't probably say? Yes. Patricia and I haven't been happy in years. We stay together because it's easier than the alternative, because we're too old to start over. But every time I see Kyle putting you through this, making you suffer while he pretends to be remorseful, it makes me angry. He is remorseful. Is he? Or is he just sorry he got caught? Robert finally looked at me. You're 28 years old, Amber. You're smart and beautiful and kind. You could leave and build a completely new life. You don't have to accept this. Everyone keeps telling me marriage takes work. There's work. And then there's staying with someone who didn't respect you enough to keep his hands off your your sister in your own bed. The bluntness of it hit me like cold water. Because he was right. Everyone else was cushioning it, softening it, but Robert was saying what I'd been thinking all along. I should go, I said, but I didn't move. I'm sorry, he said. I shouldn't have said that. No, you should have. Everyone else is lying to me. I looked at him, really looked at him. You're the only one telling me the truth. The truth is that you deserve better. The truth is that my son is a fool. The truth is that if you were my wife, I would never— He stopped himself. The air in the car got thick, charged. You would never what? I asked quietly. He didn't answer. Just looked at me with something in his eyes I recognized. Something I'd been trying to ignore for weeks. I kissed him first. That's important to say. Whatever else happens, whatever judgments get made, I kissed him. He pulled back for half a second, conflicted, and then he kissed me back. We didn't sleep together that day. We just kissed in his car like teenagers, and then we sat there in shocked silence. This can't happen, Robert finally said. I know. This is insane. I know. I'm his father. I know. But it happened anyway. The next week. And the week after that. We'd meet for coffee and end up at a hotel. We were careful. Paranoid even. Different hotels every time. Cash payments. No paper trail. The guilt was crushing at first. What I was doing was objectively worse than what Kyle had done. At least he and Melissa were the same generation. At least there wasn't this extra layer of betrayal. But then I'd go home and see Kyle in the guest room scrolling through his phone, and I'd think about them together. About how he'd looked at my sister. About how she'd betrayed me just as much as he had. And the guilt would fade into something else. Something that felt almost like justice. Robert made me feel wanted in a way Kyle hadn't in months. He was attentive, present. He asked about my day and actually listened. The age thing didn't bother me the way I thought it would. He was just him. And with him, I wasn't the betrayed wife. I was just Amber. I'm falling for you, he told me in June. We were lying in a hotel bed in Providence. That wasn't supposed to happen. I know, I said. What are we doing? I don't know. Kyle had been pushing for us to move back into the same bedroom. The counselor said physical intimacy was important for rebuilding connection. But I couldn't imagine letting him touch me. Not when I knew what he'd done. Not when I was with Robert. Then in late June, I missed my period. At first, I thought it was stress. Everything with Kyle, the secret affair with Robert, the ongoing lie to everyone around me. My body was probably just reacting to the chaos. But when my period didn't come the next month either, I took a test. Positive. I took 4 more tests. All positive. I sat on my bathroom floor and tried to remember the last time Kyle and I had been intimate. It was before I caught him with Melissa. Late February, maybe. 4 months ago. Robert and I had been together for 6 weeks. We'd been careful most of the time, but not always. There'd been once, maybe twice, when we'd gotten caught up and forgotten. I did the math over and over. Technically, it could be Kyle's. If it was February when we last slept together, I would have gotten pregnant right at the end of the window. But it was more likely Robert's. Much more likely. I called Robert in a panic. We met at our usual spot by the lake. I'm pregnant, I said as soon as I got in his car. His face went white. Are you sure? 5 tests, sure. Could it be? I don't know. Maybe Kyle's. Probably yours. We sat in silence. The sun was setting over the water, painting everything orange and pink. Beautiful. The world didn't care that my life was imploding. What do you want to do? Robert asked finally. I don't know. Do you want to keep it? I put my hand on my stomach. A baby. My baby. Yes, I said. I want to keep it. Okay. He took my hand. Okay, then we figure this out. How? I don't know yet, but I'll be here. Whatever you need. That night, I told Kyle I was pregnant. His face lit up in a way I hadn't seen in months. Pure joy. He picked me up and spun me around, crying, saying this was a sign that we were going to be okay. I felt like a monster, but I also felt vindicated in a twisted way. He'd taken everything from me, and now I was taking something from him. Or maybe I was giving him something. I didn't know anymore. The pregnancy hormones made everything more intense. I cried constantly. Fought with Kyle over stupid things. Stopped seeing the counselor because I couldn't look her in the eye and lie anymore. Robert and I still met, but differently now. No more hotels, just coffee and talking, planning. He was supportive but scared. If the baby was his, everything would come out. His marriage would end. His relationship with Kyle would be destroyed. I'd be known as the woman who slept with her father-in-law. Maybe we don't find out, I said in August. I was 3 months along. Maybe we just let Kyle think it's his. You could do that? I don't know. Could you? He didn't answer. Kyle was obsessed with the pregnancy. He read parenting books, set up the nursery, came to every appointment, moved back into our bedroom because we're a family now. I let him, because what else was I gonna do? Patricia noticed I was pulling away from Robert. She mentioned it at Sunday dinner in September. You two used to be so close, she said. Did something happen? Just busy with the pregnancy, I said quickly. First trimester was rough, but Patricia's eyes lingered on Robert, then on me, like she was seeing something. That night, Robert texted me, we need to be more careful. P is suspicious. But how do you be careful when the evidence is growing inside you? In October, I couldn't take it anymore. The lying, the pretending, the fact that Kyle was painting the nursery yellow and choosing baby names when the baby might not even be his. I want a paternity test, I told Robert at the lake. While you're pregnant? That's risky. No, after. As soon as the baby is born. I need to know. And if it's mine, then I tell everyone the truth. Amber, that will destroy everything. Everything is already destroyed, Robert. This just makes it visible. He was quiet for a long time. Then, okay, if that's what you want, I'll take the test. But we do it privately first. Find out the results before we tell anyone. I agreed. We chose a lab, made a plan. After the baby was born, we'd both go separately and give DNA samples. Results in 3 days. But then Patricia found text messages. It was mid-October. Robert had been careless, left his phone on the kitchen counter. The messages between us weren't explicit, but they were enough. Meeting times. I miss you. We need to talk about the baby. Patricia confronted him. He broke down and told her everything. She called me that night. I was lying in bed next to Kyle, who was rubbing my feet and talking about baby names. You need to come over, Patricia said, her voice ice. Now, without Kyle. My blood went cold. Patricia, now. I told Kyle I needed to run to the drugstore for pregnancy cravings. Drove to their house with my heart in my throat. Patricia answered the door. Robert was sitting on the couch, his head in his hands. Patricia looked at me with such pure hatred I almost turned around and left. So it's true, she said. You've been sleeping with my husband. Patricia, don't you dare make excuses. She stepped closer. How long? Since May. And the baby? I don't know whose it is. She laughed, sharp and bitter. You don't know. Of course you don't, because you've been sleeping with both of them. Kyle and I were barely together after he cheated on you with your sister. Yes, Robert told me. He told me everything. And you know what's funny? I actually felt sorry for you. When he first told me what Kyle did, I thought, that poor girl. She doesn't deserve that. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. And then you turned around and did this. I'm sorry. You're not. You're just sorry you got caught. Just like Kyle was. Just like Robert was when I cheated on him 10 years ago. Everyone's always sorry after. She wiped her eyes. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get that paternity test. And if that baby is Robert's, I'm going to make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person you are. Your parents, your friends, everyone. And if it's Kyle's, then we all pretend this never happened. You stay away from Robert. We go back to Sunday dinners and playing happy family. Because I'm not losing my marriage and my reputation because you couldn't handle your husband's infidelity like an adult. I looked at Robert. He wouldn't meet my eyes. Okay, I said. I drove home in a daze. Kyle was asleep. I lay awake next to him all night, feeling the baby move, wondering whose child was inside me. The next few weeks were torture. Patricia told Robert they were working on their marriage, which meant he couldn't contact me. I went to my appointments alone. Kyle noticed something was wrong, but assumed it was pregnancy hormones. Melissa reached out in November. She'd heard I was pregnant. Wanted to congratulate me. Wanted to apologize again for everything. Said she missed me. I blocked her number. My due date was December 20th. I went into labor on December 18th, 2 days early. Kyle drove me to the hospital, held my hand through contractions, cried when they placed our daughter in my arms. She was perfect. 7 pounds, dark hair, Kyle's nose. Or maybe Robert's nose. I couldn't tell. We named her Claire. Kyle called everyone from the hospital room. His parents. My parents. Even tried to call Melissa, but I stopped him. Maybe it's time to fix things with your sister, he said gently. Family is important. Especially now, I wanted to scream. Family is important. This from the man who destroyed our family by sleeping with my sister. But I just said, not yet. Robert and Patricia came to visit the next day. Patricia cooed over Claire, playing doting grandmother. Robert barely looked at her. Or at me. She's beautiful, Patricia said, holding Claire. She has your eyes, Amber. I couldn't tell if that was an observation or a threat. We came home 3 days later. Kyle was the perfect father. Changing diapers, doing night feedings, staring at Claire like she was a miracle. Which she was. Just maybe not as miracle. I'd set up the DNA test for December 26th. After Christmas, after all the family visits. Kyle didn't know. Robert did. Patricia definitely did. The plan was simple. I'd take Claire to a pediatrician appointment. Robert would go to the same lab an hour later. Results by December 29th. But then Kyle suggested we do a big family dinner on December 29th. Both families. Meet the baby properly. His parents, my parents, everyone together. I even reached out to Melissa, he said. I know you're not ready, but she's Claire's aunt. Maybe seeing the baby will help you guys reconnect. I stared at him. You invited Melissa? Your mom's been asking why she hasn't met Claire yet. We can't keep lying to everyone? The word came out sharp. You mean I can't keep covering up what you did? Kyle's face fell. I thought we were past this. Past it? Kyle, it's been 9 months. 9 months isn't past it. Then when? When will it be enough? I've done everything. Counseling, space, whatever you needed. We have a daughter now. When do we move forward? He was right in a way. If I was staying, I had to actually stay. Commit or leave. But I couldn't do either because I didn't know whose baby I was holding. Fine, I said. Invite everyone. December 29th. The same day I'd get the DNA results. The next week crawled by. Christmas came and went. Claire was 5 days old. Perfect and tiny and completely unaware that her existence was about to blow up 2 families. I took her to the lab on the 26th. They swabbed her cheek. It took 30 seconds. The technician smiled and said results would be available by the 29th. Both fathers listed will be notified by email, she said. Both fathers. The phrase made me want to throw up. That night, Kyle found me crying in the nursery. Hey, he said softly. What's wrong? Everything. Everything was wrong. Just hormones. I lied and tired. He put his arms around me. You're an amazing mom. Claire's so lucky. I almost told him right then. Almost confessed everything. But then I thought about him with Melissa, and the words died in my throat. December 29th arrived. The dinner was at 6 p.m. at Robert and Patricia's house. The DNA results would be emailed at noon. I woke up at dawn, checked my email every 5 minutes. Kyle noticed but thought I was just nervous about seeing Melissa. It'll be fine, he said. She's your sister. You guys will work it out. At 11:50, I locked myself in the bathroom with my phone, stared at my email. Refreshed, refreshed, refreshed. At 12:03 it came. Subject, DNA test results. Case number 847293. My hands shook so badly I could barely open it. The email had an attachment, a PDF. I downloaded it, opened it, read the results, and my entire world shifted. The probability of paternity for subject A, Kyle Morrison, 0%. The probability of paternity for subject B, Robert Morrison, 0%. I read it 3 times, 4 times. Neither of them. Claire wasn't Kyle's baby, and she wasn't Robert's baby, but that was impossible. I hadn't been with anyone else. There was literally no one else it could be. Unless, oh my god, I called the lab immediately. Asked to speak to someone? A woman answered. Explained she was the geneticist who'd processed my case. There must be a mistake, I said. Neither father is a match. There's no mistake. However, I should mention something interesting. Subject B showed a partial match consistent with a first-degree relative. Uncle, grandfather, that range. If you're looking for the biological father, you might want to test subject B's close male relatives. Robert's close male relatives Kyle, but Kyle had tested at 0%. Wait, I said slowly. What if subject A and subject B are father and son? That would explain the partial match, yes. If subject B is the grandfather, then who's the father? You'd need to test other potential candidates. Do you have? I hung up. Kyle had a brother, Michael. He lived in California. I'd met him twice. Once at our wedding, once at Christmas 3 years ago. Michael, who looked almost identical to Kyle. Michael, who'd been in Connecticut last February for a work conference. Michael, who'd stopped by the house one afternoon when Kyle was at work and I was home alone. He'd stayed for coffee. We'd talked about his divorce, about how hard it was starting over. He'd been kind, sympathetic, understanding, and I'd been so angry at Kyle already. Not about Melissa yet. That came later. But about other things. Little betrayals, neglect. I'd felt invisible in my own marriage. Michael had made me feel seen. It was one afternoon, one time. I'd blocked it out afterward, felt guilty for months. It was before Melissa, before everything exploded. And I'd honestly forgotten about it in the chaos of everything that came after. But the timing. Late February, right before I caught Kyle and Melissa. Oh my god, Claire wasn't Kyle's baby. She wasn't Robert's baby. She was Michael's baby, which meant Robert was her grandfather, which explained the partial match. And Kyle was her uncle. I sat on the bathroom floor and laughed, then cried, then laughed again. The universe had played the most insane joke in history. I'd spent 7 months thinking I was pregnant by my father father-in-law, feeling guilty about that affair, planning for that revelation. But the actual truth was somehow even more complicated. My daughter's father was my husband's brother, the man I'd slept with once in a moment of weakness before everything fell apart. And today, at 6 p.m., both families were gathering. Melissa would be there. My parents, Robert and Patricia. Kyle. Patricia thought she was about to expose me for sleeping with her husband and having his baby. She'd been sitting on this information, waiting for the DNA test to confirm it, ready to detonate the bomb in front of everyone. But the bomb was different than she thought. I needed to call Michael, needed to tell him. But his email from the lab would come too. He'd been listed as subject C at my last-minute request to the lab that morning when the possibility occurred to me. I'd pretended it was just for thoroughness. His results would show 99.9% probability of paternity. My phone rang. Robert, did you get the results? He asked. Yes, and it's not yours. Silence. Then, Kyle's? No. But how? Amber, who else? I'll explain tonight. We're still doing dinner, right? Patricia's planning to tell everyone. She thinks it's mine. She's going to destroy you in front of both families. Let her try. I hung up before he could respond. The next call was Michael. It went to voicemail. I didn't leave a message. I spent the afternoon getting ready. Dressed Claire in the outfit my mom had bought her. A little red dress with white flowers. Did my own makeup carefully. I wanted to look good for this. Kyle kept asking if I was okay. I said I was fine. Just nervous about seeing everyone. At 5:30, my phone buzzed. A text from a California number. We need to talk. I got a lab email. What the hell is going on? Michael, I wrote back. Come to your parents' house tonight. 6 p.m. I'll explain everything. I'm in California. Then get on a plane. This can't wait. 3 dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. I'm coming. Which meant he wouldn't make it by 6. But that was okay. The first bomb would go off without him. He could be the second explosion. We drove to Robert and Patricia's at 5:45. I held Claire in her car seat. Kyle drove, whistling along to the radio. Happy? Clueless. My parents were already there when we arrived. My dad hugged me, cooed at Claire. My mom cried happy tears. I can't believe you and Melissa are in the same room, she whispered. This is such a healing moment. Melissa stood in the corner with a glass of wine. She looked thinner, sadder. When our eyes met, she started crying. I'm so sorry, she mouthed. I looked away. Robert and Patricia played host. Patricia kept giving me significant looks. The DNA results looked. She thought she had me. Thought tonight was my reckoning. She had no idea. We all sat down for dinner at 6:15. Patricia had made a whole spread. Turkey, mashed potatoes, the works. Everyone passed dishes and made small talk. My dad told a bad joke. Kyle's mom asked about Claire's feeding schedule. Melissa sat across from me, not eating, just staring at her plate. Kyle sat next to me, bouncing Claire on his knee. She looks like you, my mom said to him. She didn't. She looked like Michael. At 6:30, Patricia stood up. Before we have dessert, I'd like to say something. Here it comes. This year has been challenging for our families, Patricia began. There have been secrets, betrayals, things that have divided us. My mother looked confused. My father put down his fork. But we're here tonight because of this beautiful baby. Because family is important. Because we have to be honest with each other. Patricia looked directly at me. Isn't that right, Amber? Yes, I said calmly. Honesty is important. So I think it's time we all knew the truth. About who Claire's father really is. Kyle's face went white. Mom, what are you? The truth is, Patricia continued, that Amber had an affair. With someone at this table? My mother gasped. Melissa's wine glass slipped, spilling red across the white tablecloth. And that person, Patricia said, turning to Robert, is my husband. Chaos. My father stood up, shouting. My mother started crying. Kyle looked at me with such betrayal I almost felt bad. Almost. Melissa said, what? Robert sat frozen, not denying it. Kyle stood up, still holding Claire. Tell me she's lying. I can't, I said quietly. You slept with my father? Yes. He looked like I'd punched him. When? After I found you with my sister. For months. I was with Robert for months. Melissa made a choking sound. My mother said something in Spanish, a prayer or a curse. Kyle turned to his father. Dad? Robert finally met his son's eyes. I'm sorry. You're sorry? Kyle's voice broke. You're sorry? But here's the thing, I said loudly, standing up. Everyone looked at me. Claire isn't Robert's baby. Patricia's triumphant expression faltered. What? I got the DNA results today. Robert isn't the father? That's impossible, Patricia said. You were with him. You admitted it. I was. But he's not the father. Then who? Kyle started. The doorbell rang. Everyone froze. Patricia looked at Robert. Who else is coming? I don't know, Robert said. But he was looking at me. I walked to the door, opened it. Michael stood there, still in his airport clothes. His hair was messy. He looked exhausted. He looked exactly like Kyle. Michael? Patricia said behind me. What are you doing here? Michael stepped inside, his eyes finding me. Then Claire in Kyle's arms. Recognition flickered across his face. Tell them, I said. Tell us what? Kyle demanded. Michael looked at his brother, at his parents, at everyone staring at him. I'm Claire's father, he said. The second bomb. More chaos. Louder this time. My father demanding explanations. My mother sobbing. Patricia screaming at Michael, at me, at everyone. Kyle stood perfectly still, holding Claire, looking between me and his brother like he couldn't process what he was hearing. It was one time, Michael said, last February. I was in town for work. I stopped by the house. We talked, we had coffee, and one time, Kyle's voice was dead. One time with my wife and you got her pregnant? I didn't know, Michael said. I swear I didn't know until I got a lab email today asking me to consent to a paternity test. I didn't even know Amber was pregnant. Because you live in California and never call, Patricia hissed. Because you're never part of this family. Neither are you, apparently, Michael shot back. Amber told me what you were planning to do tonight. Expose her in front of everyone. Real classy, Mom. Melissa hadn't said a word. She just stared at me with wide eyes. Say something, I told her. What do you want me to say? That you're sorry. That you regret sleeping with my husband in my bed. That you understand why I did what I did. I do, she whispered. I'm so sorry, Amber. I've been sorry every day since it happened. You should be. I turned to Kyle. And you destroyed us. You took everything good we had and you threw it away for what? A few nights with my sister? Was it worth it? No, Kyle said. He was crying now, still holding Claire. God, no. It wasn't worth anything. I'm so sorry. You're all sorry. Everyone's so sorry. I looked around the room. But sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't undo what you did. What I did. What we all did to each other. My mother stood up. I can't. I need air. She walked out to the patio. My father followed her. So what now? Patricia asked coldly. What's your plan, Amber? You've successfully destroyed 2 families. Do you feel vindicated? I feel tired, I said honestly. I feel like everyone in this room betrayed someone. You cheated on Robert 10 years ago. Robert cheated on you with me. Kyle cheated on me with my sister. liar. I cheated on Kyle with Robert and Michael. Melissa betrayed me with Kyle. We're all terrible people, except Claire, Michael said quietly. He was looking at his daughter for the first time. She's innocent in all this. Kyle looked down at the baby in his arms. The baby who wasn't his. What am I supposed to do with this information? I thought I was her father. You raised her for 2 weeks, I said. You're not her father. You're her uncle. Does that matter? Kyle asked, and his voice was so broken it actually hurt. Does biology matter more than the fact that I love her? That I've been there every night? That I would die for her? That stopped me, because he was right. Biology was just biology. Kyle had been Claire's father in every way that mattered for 2 weeks. Michael was a stranger who'd just walked in the door. I don't know, I admitted. I want to be in her life, Michael said. You have a right to nothing, Kyle snapped. You slept with my wife and disappeared. You don't get to show up now and claim father of the year. Neither do you, Robert said quietly. Everyone turned to look at him. Kyle, you're her uncle. Michael is her biological father, but neither of you has more claim than the other unless Amber decides. Unless Amber decides, Kyle repeated bitterly. That's rich. Amber, who's been lying for months. Amber, who slept with my father and my brother. Sure, let's let her decide. You slept with her sister, Melissa finally shouted. In her bed. You don't get to judge her, and you don't get to defend her. You're part of why this happened. Stop, I said. Everyone stop. Silence fell. Claire started fussing. Kyle automatically started rocking her, then seemed to realize what he was doing and looked at me helplessly. I took her from him, held my daughter close. Here's what's going to happen, I said. Kyle and I are getting divorced. That's non-negotiable. What you did with Melissa killed us. What I did with Robert killed us. We're done. Kyle's face crumpled, but he nodded. Michael, you can be in Claire's life if you want, but you don't get to just show up and play dad. You live in California. You have a life there, so we'll figure out something that makes sense. Okay, Michael said. And Kyle, I looked at my soon-to-be ex-husband. If you want to be in Claire's life too as her uncle, I'm not going to stop you. You've been good to her. That matters. Thank you, he whispered. I turned to Patricia and Robert. Your marriage is your business, but I'm done being your secret. Done being your weapon against each other. Whatever you two need to work it out without me. Patricia opened her mouth to say something, then closed it. She looked old suddenly, tired. Finally, I looked at Melissa, my sister, who'd betrayed me in the worst way possible, but who also looked absolutely shattered. I'm not ready to forgive you, I said. I don't know if I ever will be, but you're my sister, and you're Claire's aunt, so we'll figure out what that looks like eventually. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. Melissa nodded, tears streaming down her face. My parents came back in from the patio. My mother's eyes were red. My father looked like he'd aged 10 years. We're leaving, my dad said. We need time to process this. All of it. Okay, I said. They hugged me, kissed Claire. Didn't say goodbye to anyone else. After they left, I gathered Claire's things. I'm going to a hotel, I announced. I need space from all of you. Let me drive you, Michael offered. No, I need to be alone. I walked out of that house with my daughter, leaving behind both families sitting in ruins. The hotel room was quiet. Claire slept in her portable crib. I sat on the bed and finally let myself feel everything. The betrayal, the anger, the guilt, the absolute absurd insanity of it all. My husband had cheated with my sister, so I'd slept with his father and his brother and gotten pregnant, and now everyone knew everything and there was no going back. I'd gotten my revenge. I'd detonated my nuclear bomb, and in the blast radius was everyone I'd ever cared about. Was it worth it? I looked at Claire, sleeping peacefully. She had Michael's nose, Kyle's chin, my eyes. She was a patchwork of our collective mistakes, and she was perfect. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. It's Melissa. I got your number from Mom. I know you don't want to talk to me, but I need you to know something. I almost deleted it. Almost blocked the number. But something made me read the next message. I slept with Kyle because I was jealous of you. Because you had everything I wanted. A husband who loved you. A nice house. A good job. A life that made sense. I wanted to ruin it. And I did. And I've hated myself every single day since. Another message. But the truth is, Kyle pursued me. I was staying in your house and he came to my room that first night. Said you two were fighting. That he felt invisible. That I made him feel seen. I should have said no. I should have told you. But I didn't. And that makes me a terrible person. I stared at the messages. Kyle had pursued her. That didn't absolve Melissa, but it changed things slightly. Made the betrayal less about her actively destroying my marriage and more about two selfish people taking what they wanted without caring who they hurt. I didn't respond. Just set my phone down and watched my daughter sleep. 3 days later, I signed a lease on a new apartment. Filed for divorce. Started the process of building a new life that didn't include Kyle or Robert or Sunday dinners or pretending. Michael flew back to California, but we video called twice a week. He sent money for Claire. Started making plans to move back to Connecticut in a few months. Kyle sent flowers with a card that said, I'm sorry for everything. I hope someday you can forgive me. I threw them away. Robert called once. I didn't answer. Patricia sent an email that just said, I hope you're happy. I deleted it. My parents came to visit the new apartment, brought food, sat with Claire, didn't ask questions. My mother pulled me aside before they left. What you did was wrong, she said, but what was done to you was wrong first. I'm not saying that makes it okay, but I understand why you needed revenge. Did I take it too far? I asked. She looked at Claire. You have a beautiful daughter. That's not too far. That's a blessing disguised as a mistake. Melissa reached out again in January. Asked if she could meet Claire. I said no, then I said maybe. Then finally, I said yes. She came to the apartment on a Tuesday afternoon. Brought toys she'd bought. Sat on the floor and cried when Claire grabbed her finger. She's perfect, Melissa said. She is. I don't deserve to be in her life. No, I agreed. You don't. But I'm tired of punishing people. I'm tired of being angry. So if you want to be Aunt Melissa, you can be. But you have to earn it. I will, she promised. I'll spend the rest of my life earning it. I don't know if I believe her, but I'm willing to try. Kyle asked if he could come by in February. 2 months after the dinner, after the explosion, I said yes. He sat on my couch, holding Claire, looking at her like she was still his miracle, even though she wasn't. I miss you, he said. Not like getting back together. I just miss you being in my life. I miss who you used to be, I said, before you destroyed us. Can I still see her? Can I still be Uncle Kyle? I wanted to say no. Wanted to tell him he'd lost that right when he slept with my sister. But watching him with Claire, seeing how gentle he was, how much he loved her even though she wasn't his, I couldn't do it. Yes, I said. You can see her, he cried, thanked me. Left after an hour. I'm not the hero of this story. I need to be clear about that. I'm not some wronged woman who got justified revenge. I'm someone who was hurt and who hurt others in return. I became exactly what I hated. Maybe worse, but I'm also a mother now, and that changes things. Claire doesn't care about DNA or betrayals or who slept with whom. She just cares that she's loved, and she is. By me. By Michael, who's trying to be a good father from a distance. By Kyle, who loves her like she's his even though she's not. Even by Melissa, who babysits once a week now and is slowly becoming my sister again. Robert and Patricia are getting divorced. She moved out in March. He sent me a letter apologizing for everything, for pulling me into his marriage's dysfunction, for not being stronger. I haven't responded. Sometimes I think about that moment in February when Michael knocked on my door. That one afternoon that changed everything. If I'd said no, if I'd made him leave, if I'd been stronger or better or less angry at Kyle, but I wasn't. And Claire exists because I wasn't. She's 6 months old now. She has 4 teeth and she's starting to crawl. She laughs at everything. She doesn't know yet that her family is a disaster, that her father is her uncle's brother, that her grandmother tried to destroy her mother, that nothing about her existence makes conventional sense. All she knows is love. And maybe that's enough. I still don't talk to most people about what happened. My parents know. Michael knows. Kyle and his family know. My close friends got the sanitized version. Kyle and I split up. The baby's father is someone I briefly dated. It's complicated. No one needs to know the whole truth. No one needs to understand the full scope of how broken we all are. Last week, Kyle brought Claire back from an afternoon visit. He lingered at the door. "I'm seeing someone," he said. "I wanted you to hear it from me." Okay, it's not serious, but I wanted to be honest. Honest. The word almost made me laugh, but I just nodded. "I hope she makes you happy." "I hope you're happy," he said. Genuinely. "After everything, I hope you find someone who treats you the way I should have." "I'm not looking," I said. "I have Claire. That's enough for now," and it is. Maybe it won't always be. Maybe someday I'll want to date again, to find someone new, to build something that isn't soaked in betrayal and revenge. But not yet. For now, I'm just a single mother in a small apartment with a beautiful daughter and a family that's held together with duct tape and determination. Is this a happy ending? I don't know. It's an ending. It's where we are after the bomb went off and the dust settled. Claire is asleep in her crib. I can hear her breathing through the baby monitor. Tomorrow, Michael is flying in for the weekend. Saturday, Kyle is taking her to the park. Sunday, maybe I'll let Melissa come over. We're all trying. That has to count for something. The nuclear bomb I promised to detonate that night did go off. It destroyed everything. But in the rubble, we're all still here. Broken but breathing. Damaged but determined. And Claire, my perfect unexpected daughter, is the center of it all. Not a mistake. Not revenge. Just a little girl who deserves better than the family she got, but who's loved fiercely anyway. That's the truth. That's my story. The whole messy, complicated, impossible truth, and I'm done apologizing for it.